evening, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome in from around the continent and beyond for another very exciting Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants broadcast. If you're joining us for the first time today, and some of you are, we are all about bringing conservation, adventure, and science into classrooms around the world. And I'm so excited of all days you're joining us today because today we are back partnering with our amazing friends at the Toronto Zoo. Zoo Facebook and YouTube audience, welcome into you guys as well. So excited to have such a global group joining us for another very exciting program. Now, we have done over 35 programs at the zoo over the years. All of those are on our YouTube channel. I hope you'll take the chance to learn more, get excited about all the incredible wildlife that they have there, some of their conservation stories and beyond. It's always such a wild ride having them. But today, we are doing something completely different. You may have joined us for lions and tigers and bears, oh my, in the past. But today, we are going into the invertebrate world to learn about spiders and their appreciation. Spiders are an animal that can freak out a lot of people, but they're actually really, really delightful. So we're going to learn about some of their cool adaptations. We're going to meet a spider. We're going to meet some other animal ambassadors at the zoo as well. And I hope you're all as excited as I am. So without further ado, I'm going to zip it and turn you over to Mary Ellen, our amazing educator extraordinaire at the zoo. Welcome into the broadcast again.
Thank you so much, Jesse. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Toronto Zoo. This is maybe a part of the zoo that you have never seen and probably may never see for a lot of people. We're very excited today to be bringing you up close and personal with one of our tarantulas, an ambassador species here at the zoo, to learn more about spiders, why we should actually care about them, and why they're maybe feared for the wrong reasons, and kind of go over what their role here as an ambassador species at the Toronto Zoo. Before we get started, I forgot to ask Jesse this earlier as well, but hopefully he's ready to go with the land acknowledgement for us.
I'm not.
That's okay. I have it up for us.
So and would not let me bring it up, and I'm so sorry for that, Mary Ellen and zoo team.
All good. No worries. I've got it here for us. So before we get started, we would just like to acknowledge that the land that we are standing on is the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississauga of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nation, Inuit, and Métis peoples. We would also like to acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississauga of the Credit and the William Treaty signed with multiple Mississauga and Chippewa bands. All right, everyone. So let's dive into it here. Now, I know that we don't have any actual live classroom spots today, and I kind of thought this was going to happen because our focal animal is spiders. And they have a very interesting reputation here in the world, and there's a lot of fear associated with them. So I know we have a lot of people joining us online. Be forewarned, I like to ask questions, so Jesse gets to be your voice for you today. So make sure you're at your keyboards and ready, so that Jesse can answer for you here. And the first thing I want to ask the group is how many people watching today are scared or maybe a little bit unsure or kind of averse to spiders? What's our range in our audience? Does anyone love them? Does anyone not love them? Let's see, kind of gauge where we're at.
So whoever's joining in online, please do share in the chat, whether you're on YouTube or Facebook. I can see all your answers in the chat on the side. We've got a few people that are a little leery. I know growing up, my family was quite leery of spiders, but I was not. I was a big animal nerd, so I loved spiders when I was a kid. Centipedes are my scary thing. We've got Janet loves spiders. Mike hates them, but loves snakes. So we're wrangling in other animals that are in the scare realm over there. So a good mix, but more, a little bit of trepidation for our spiders.
Definitely, yeah. So I kind of figured that was going to be the overall range or the average feeling towards them. They do get a pretty bad rap out there in the world today, and there's a lot of fear associated with them. And we're going to debunk some of that today. So I'm actually standing right now, like I mentioned when I first introduced, in a part of the zoo that most people have never seen. We are inside on the second floor of the Learning and Engagement building here at the Toronto Zoo. And up here, maybe not a place where you think a creature, an animal would live, but we do have one of our many ambassador species who lives up here. So I'm going to turn the camera around and get our focal animal here with us. And so I'd like everyone to meet Lulu. So this is Lulu here. Let me take her little lid off. We prepped it. Don't worry, it's usually much more secure than that. But this is Lulu. She is a flame tarantula, and we're going to learn a little bit more specifically about her in a few minutes. But just to kind of give us an idea of her size and what she looks like there, she's just kind of hanging out on one of her logs. And we're going to bring her out in a few minutes and also try and give her her crickets today. I can't guarantee she's going to eat for us. She's a little bit of a fickle eater, and coming out of her tank, she might be a little bit unsettled. So she may not eat for us, but we're going to give it a try and see what we can do. But I wanted to talk a little bit about kind of why we fear spiders and why we are maybe a little bit more hesitant towards them. And there's really four main reasons for this, and you might be aware of some of them already. But there is a lot of media presence for spiders. I don't know if anyone can think of any maybe movies or anything like that where spiders are portrayed as the quote unquote bad guy or the evil creature or the scary creature. In Halloween, they're used to scare people. There's a lot of kind of media attention that really reinforces this idea that they are a scary creature or there's something to be feared or even maybe more demonic as well, which creates a lot of fear. It's also passed down. Jesse, you actually mentioned this, that your family maybe isn't so keen on spiders.
Yep.
It's amazing that you don't have that fear. So you love them.
I had a good family where they were like, we're afraid, but we want to make sure that our kid is not. And so there was like a lot of, exposure therapy and great books. And so I grew to love them, even though they were a little bit skittish about them. So I had lucky parents.
Very much so. Yeah. So it's great to see that your family and your parents were able to encourage you to still love and have that appreciation of them, because so many out there, they learn it from their parents, and it makes sense. You learn how to be a human and exist from your family and friends around you. So if they're fearful of something, it often gets passed down to you as well. And then also historically, so way back in the day, early days for humans, if you got bit by a venomous spider who could actually do some damage to you, you might have died from it. And so we might have learned that they were pretty dangerous to be around. And so again, historically, they would have been a big issue for us. In modern times, yes, we sometimes get bit by spiders, but death from spider bites are far and few between. And we often have ways to counter it with anti-venom and different treatments to protect us from them if we do happen to cross paths with them. And then also quite possibly one of the funniest reasons, but I do understand it. Lulu's not doing much right now, but when she does move, or if you think of like a little spider you might see in your house, they move weirdly. And there's no better scientific term for it. I'm sorry. It's just weirdly. And they're fast and they dart around and they're unpredictable. And if there's something human hates, it's unpredictability. We like to know where things are going around us. We like to know what they're doing, to be able to think like them. And spiders are the exact opposite. Lulu does whatever she wants, whenever she wants to do it. And she doesn't move a ton, but when she does, it's fast and we don't know where she's going. And that can be a little unnerving as well, for sure, which I totally get. But why are they important? I want to throw this back to the audience really quickly here. Why do we think spiders are important to have around us? Like clearly there's thousands, over 50,000 types of spiders in the world. They're clearly here for a reason. Why?
So on that 50,000 note too, so all the mammals, all the mice, all the antelope, all the cats, apes, primates of all kinds, about 5,500. So there's 10 times more kind of spider than there are all the animals that we sort of most think of when we think of animals. So there certainly are a ton of them. We've got a few things coming in. So again, eat insects, eat pests, just a part of our ecosystem. So important just because they're living things. They're important insofar as that. That's a great answer. Eat pests is our big one coming in a few of our channels. So that's a key one for spiders. That's where my mind goes for them, and that's awesome. Mary Ellen?
Definitely, yeah. So you're right on the ball with it. They are eating pests, so they're great at pest control. And if you're unaware, insects and different pests that we see around us are the number one spread of diseases. So they can wipe out a crop in one go, kind of in a field, and that really affects our food consumption as humans and, what we're able to grow for ourselves. And it can also spread diseases, as humans have been very aware over the last couple of years with disease spreading around the globe. Insects can contribute really aggressively to that spread of disease. So spiders are a great source of natural pest control for us. But also we can learn some stuff from them, which is pretty cool. So I don't know if anyone's ever heard of biomimicry, but it's when human and scientists, we take things that we see and notice in natures that animals or plants do really well, and we can incorporate them into everyday life. I can't recall the bird species right now, but there's a type of bird, Jesse, you probably know it off the top of your head, and we have a bullet train that's modeled off of them, and their ability to nosedive and cut through the air and kind of splice through it at speed.
kingfishers, and they're
That's
so
it.
cool. So we designed the Japanese bullet trains going like 300 plus kilometers an hour on bird beaks, and biomimicry is just an awesome subject. Very cool.
Exactly. Yeah. So there's a lot of things we can take from them. The way that spiders and tarantulas, build and spin their webs, we can learn a lot from that, and how they are able to design their webs and kind of hook them together. So humans learn a lot from them. Along with their pest control, they are also, not to many, but things larger than them, they are a prey animal. So not only do they control populations, but they can help feed populations. So they act as a good neutral medium in a food web to be able to help balance it out, which is really cool. And then one of their kind of other ways that they can help us as well is their environmental indicators. So Jesse and I can't remember how long this was ago now, Jesse, we did a program on frogs, and we learned that they are environmental indicators. So if you start seeing frog species drop out of a habitat, it's a good indication that something's wrong in that habitat and it needs addressing, it needs stabilizing. Spiders are very similar to that. If you see spiders go or come really quickly in and out of a habitat, typically means we should be keeping an eye on that area and something else is happening or going on there. So that's just a little bit about why they're so cool and kind of how they're important to us. And, they get that bad rap, but really, as we're going to learn from Lulu here in a second, they do not deserve it. They're pretty cool. And as long as you give them a wide berth and you don't really go after the really big ones that, maybe do hurt when they bite, you're pretty safe otherwise. Especially here in Canada, we are very safe. The only ones we're really interacting with are ones that we have in captivity here, like Lulu, who's a flame-kneed tarantula, and we have a bird-eating tarantula or bird-eating spider in our America's Pavilion as well here at the Toronto Zoo. But otherwise, we're pretty protected from any of the other ones here. Now, I'm going to have my colleague who's next to me actually bring Lulu out of her tank for us so we can get a better and kind of clearer picture of her, which is really cool. So we'll bring her out to be able to get up close with her and kind of see some really cool things about Lulu. And then we'll give a chance as well in case anyone has any questions specifically about her. So Greg here is just kind of letting her know, you see he picked up a paintbrush there. We use a paintbrush, it's very soft bristled, to be able to tell Lulu that we're, coming near her and that we are asking her to move or maybe walk and kind of move around her exhibit. We also do this right before we go to feed her. We also try and let her know that, we're coming in case she's sleeping. A lot of spiders don't have the best eyesight, so they're not seeing us. They're feeling vibrations around them instead. So Lulu is able to tell when she feels the soft bristles of the paintbrush, then she knows that we're kind of around her and we're here to check her out. Now, Lulu is just one type of spider. Jesse and I were saying that there are like hundreds of or 50,000 or more potential types of spiders out there. So she's just one example. Now, her full name is Cholula, but we all call her Lulu in the office. Oh, she's going for a little walk on us there. She is over a year old. We've only had her for just under a year. We got her last summer to be used in our zoo camp program that we have here. So we use a lot of ambassador species and we're able to get up close with them, bring her out like this so we can kind of check her out, really see and kind of break that stigma about these animals and the species itself. But we think she's about a year because she's full grown. So she's not getting any bigger than this. This is about her max size, and to kind of give you an idea, like that's my hand there kind of next to her. Obviously I'm a little bit closer to the camera, but she's about the size of my palm or so in my hand. So about the size of adult palm. And she does shed and molt. In fact, I actually have a very cool shed example here. This was from her first shed she did with us. And it's an almost perfect shed that you can see. And I will say it was a little creepy finding it in her tank for the first time. We weren't really expecting her to do it all in one go, but she did. And she did a nice molt there for us, which is cool. So again, it's interesting that we're now able to keep this. It dried out a little bit, so it is kind of breaking apart and it's very fragile, but it allows us to bring it out, show people, you can pick it up, see it a lot more clearly, and be able to get a really good idea of her size and also the makeup of her body, which is pretty cool as well. Now, Lulu here, we do, have some fun facts about her and some interesting things, but in all honesty, this is pretty much what she does all the time. She is more of a ground or terrestrial spider. So in her tank, she's got like a cocoa fiber substrate, and she does have a little water dish, but let's poll the audience here. Do we think Lulu goes swimming? What do we think the water dish is for her?
Swimming. I will say There are some spiders that do go swimming, including
Hmm.
raft spiders, and they're super cool. And everyone should look up a raft spider or a diving bell spider, which actually go under the water, which is super neat. But no, our audience does not think Lulu is going swimming. Just a water dish to drink from.
That's very true. Yeah. So there are definitely types of spiders, but for Lulu here, it's more actually for her. You can see we have these kind of probes everywhere. There's some on the back of her tank, and we have these displays here. It's actually to keep her humidity up. She is from a more humid and warmer climate than we are used to here in Canada. So we are able to pour water in there. We kind of soak her substrate, and then her heat mat at the back. It's on the side of her tank, not the bottom, for safety of her when she buries down into the ground. It's able to keep a nice, warm, humid environment for her, which has been a struggle for me. If you've watched these videos before, you probably know that I'm a fan of colder weather. But now that I share an office with Lulu, I've had to concede, and we keep it very nice and toasty in here for her to make sure we are following animal welfare regulations and guidelines. So it's for a good reason, but oh my goodness, it has been the warmest winter up here of my life. And I'm starting to feel it for sure. But Lulu is a great example, again, of an ambassador species that we can bring out here. As you can see, she's quite chill. She's not going to do a whole lot. She gets fed about once a week, and that's the most that we see her move. We do have some crickets. You can see them in the bag right there behind her. And we're going to try and feed her some. She usually gets 3 or so every Thursday. That's kind of her average. She doesn't always eat 3. If she's starting to not eat them, we usually know that maybe means something's wrong with her temperature, humidity, or she's going to go into a molt or to a shed. She can also eat roaches and pinkies, but she's doing well on crickets. She seems to do okay. She's not the most active hunter in the world, I will say, but she's able to eat and feed herself, and she's good to go from that. But she tries. She tries her best, and we'll give her that. You might have noticed, though, before we put her back and try and feed her, that she does have a little bald spot kind of on her butt, for lack of a better word there. Does anyone want to guess why she might have that spot of missing hair on her back?
Ooh, let's see. Who knows their tarantulas really well? We had someone already mention the fact that she had a bald spot in the chat, but does anyone know why? She's such a beautiful spider. I just love her.
She is.
Yeah. I want to note, too, while we're looking at her really close head on, count the legs, and you'll notice there's something a little funny about that, which we can talk about maybe in a minute, about things that are right up front on her too. So that's my little plug of the day. But no one really knows why she's missing hair on her abdomen. Can you tell us a little bit more?
I like that. Yeah. So we noticed that she was maybe missing some hair, but we're not sure why. So tarantulas and spiders, and I keep kind of using those names interchangeably, but I will say all tarantulas are spiders, but not all spiders are tarantulas. So tarantulas are like a type of spider, but I am using those words more interchangeably right now for us. But essentially, they have a variety of ways that they will hunt and that they protect themselves. Some are ambush predators. A lot of smaller spider species use those very intricate webs to catch their prey. They'll lay traps, so they'll put a web out. They'll maybe put some vibrations on it, attract. Some can even mimic hormones of moths and bring them closer to them. They have a very intricate way of, or a very diverse way of hunting. And some of them use venom or more like chasing kind of prey, that kind of thing. But they also have ways to defend themselves. And one of those ways is by throwing hairs. So tarantula specifically, it's hard to see, and I can't really get too much closer to her, but on her back, she's got a bunch of tiny barbed hairs. And when Lulu makes her web, which she does have like a little bit in her cave there, you can see there's some web on the ground. And here we go. We got kind of turning her around so you can see her butt a little bit better. You can see the bald spot and the tiny little hairs. These are hairs that she will throw out or at you kind of when she's irritated or angry. Or after she's made her little web, she will kind of rub up against it and loosen some of the hairs on it. So if anything kind of comes near it, you get them up your nose or in your eyes, it can be very, very painful. They're super itchy. Humans can have allergic reactions to them. So we do try and, if we see we're irritating her and we can see her throwing up the hairs, we do, give her some time to cool off and give her space for sure. And that's why you see that bald patch on her butt. That just means in the last I don't know, 6 months or so since she's shed, she has thrown a few hairs. So she's been upset by something. Maybe it's us. She didn't want to eat. We bothered her. We cleaned her tank, or maybe we misted too much and she didn't like that. And so she's thrown some hairs at us in the last couple of months. And basically, it'll grow, or it doesn't grow back right now, but the next time she sheds, she'll have a perfect, like all of her hairs will be back. She'll regrow them in her next shed that she does. And then she'll push them back out at us after that as well. All right, so I have talked a little bit about Lulu here. We're going to throw her back into her tank and we're going to see if she'll eat for us. And as we do that, before I go on to our next animal ambassador, and again, kind of talk about why we have these ambassador species that we can get more up close with, the benefit to them, and how we can care about animals more deeply when we can have these more up close in-person experiences with them. Are there any questions specifically about Lulu or about spiders in general? Because I know when we see our next animal, that's going to change the topic of the questions for sure. So we'll focus on the spiders here for a second while we try and give her a feed as well.
Yeah, so we talked about sort of the risk of her, the risk of some venomous spiders. If Lulu were to bite someone, what would that bite feel like? Is there sort of a parallel that we can highlight?
Oh, great question. You know what? I'm actually going to throw that one into Greg's moving her here for us, but I'm going to ask him as well. Do you know what a parallel would be like if she bit you, if she did happen to bite you?
Sort of similar to a bee sting.
Okay, so similar to a bee sting would be what Lulu's bite is.
So the only problem would be is if you're really allergic. Otherwise, it would just be painful.
Okay, yeah. So only issue, Greg was saying, I don't know if you could hear it, but if you're allergic to a spider bite, which people can be, you're in a little bit more trouble. But otherwise, it's just kind of pain. It's not nothing too worrying for if you're not allergic.
I love when we highlight this because I think a lot of people see a tarantula and assume that you could die if you got bitten by one, and that is simply not the case for most tarantula species in the world. In fact, most spider species, you're usually at a bee sting or less level for most spiders on this planet. So great query, guys. All right, does she have blue blood? Can you speak to that a little bit?
That's a great question. That might have just stumped me here on that one. I have heard that kind of topic, but Jesse, I might have you help me answer that one here. I've never seen Lulu bleed, so I am unsure, but I do know that other species can have like different colors of blood for sure. But do you happen to know specifically for them?
So we're hemoglobin. So we've got the main molecule in our blood is iron. And that, when it bonds with oxygen, makes it red. That's literally because of the molecule that helps ferry oxygen around our body. In a lot of invertebrates, it's copper. So it's hemocyanin. So it's an entirely different molecule. And it is blue blood. So yes, spiders, snails, octopi, like all cephalopods have blue blood. It's a really, really cool question. And it literally just boils down to what molecule is in their body to help sort of ferry their blood around. So very cool. Great question.
There we go. Guys. I like that.
I like this question. How do they coordinate their legs without tripping over themselves?
Okay, that is a fantastic question. I love that so much. I don't know if we are able as humans to truly know how well they coordinate their legs, but essentially it would be second nature to them. They have those many legs from birth. That's just what their species is like. Think of it, as we start growing up and aging, and there's different responses and things that we have in our body that our body just does automatically for us, like breathing, walking, those kind of processes in our body just happen naturally for us. It would be very similar for a creature like this, or even think of like a horse. It feels overwhelming to have 4 legs to move at different times than are just 2, but they are just able to coordinate them kind of from existence. They when they hatch, they are very fast and move about on their own.
I love when we get questions like this, and I always push it back to people as my example. So one of the big ones that we get at Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants is, how do fish or birds not smack into each other when they're in a big school or a big flock? And it's like, when you're walking on a sidewalk, how do you not slam into all the other people? Or if you're at the zoo, how are you not just whacking into everybody as you walk? And it's exactly as Mary Ellen said, we sort of know how to do that from birth, and it's just sort of how we grow up as species in this planet. So I like the thought behind the question. That's very, very cool, but they're all good. No tripping spiders, I promise. All right. Will you breed her? Is Lulu gonna have any babies soon? What's the deal?
Oh, yeah. Will we breed her? Not really. She's not, we don't have her for that purpose. We got Lulu for the purpose of being an ambassador species. And we specifically got a female because spiders in general tend to live a little bit less long lives than tarantulas do. But male spiders tend to die or pass away sooner because of after they reach sexual maturity and they mate with a female, they tend to get eaten by said female or killed by her afterwards. So the females live a lot longer. Lulu can live up to 30. She's around 1.5 years, maybe 2 years old right now. So we specifically got her to be an ambassador to be able to use in our programming to teach kids about spiders and caring for animals, like welfare things. So talking about different elements of our tank, why we have our heating pad where it is, her cold areas, her warm areas. We got her for different purposes. We have no desire to breed her. I respect them. I'm educating all of you about them right now. But if she were to have babies up here, she would not be living at this part of the office. I don't think I could handle that. Big spider, yes. Tiny babies, a lot more work. You would need a much more secure tank to keep them all together. So I love them, but I don't want that around me all the time.
I've seen spider babies once. One thing that's kind of neat about a lot of spider babies is when they have them is they eat each other. So there's like 200 babies and there'll be like 2 that come out of that at the end, which is fascinating. What a great question, guys. Mary Ellen, were you holding up something special for us there?
We were. So Greg just tossed in one of her crickets for her here. We just wanted to show it off to you guys that she does have crickets in there. They're live crickets, so it is moving about. She's actually a really bad eater if they've already died. We have to get them from a certain part of the zoo, and occasionally in the cold, they sometimes pass away in the winter between when we walk outside with them between buildings. So she only hunts things that are live. She's really bad at hunting the already dead ones. And so we just tossed a cricket in, but she's starting to climb up on the wall, as you can see there, which she can do, which is a fun skill for her. But it usually means that she's kind of not interested in eating right now. The cricket is right underneath of her though. So if it's going to be eaten, this is the opportune moment. It's literally under her legs, but she does not seem super interested in him right now. We'll give her another couple seconds and maybe another question or two, and then we'll give her a chance to cool down and kind of chill.
I wish burgers just did that to my mouth. They just floated through the air and landed right in there. It's for really giving her the best possible chance here. All right. Cool question. And I found the answer to this, but this is a tricky one. How many species of spider are venomous? Do you know this, Mary Ellen, or should I?
Ooh. Okay, I'm going to take an estimate. I don't know if I know an exact number, but a lot of species are. Like a good portion of them are venomous. Like, oh, there's the cricket running away from her now. We'll keep an eye on him and try again later with him. A lot of them are. The key is, for the fear of them, is that very few have the potential to do any damage to humans, whether the strength of their venom and also like the size of the spider and their mouth and their fangs and everything. So a lot of them are no threat to us, but I'm pretty sure it's like a very high percentage of them are venomous.
Yeah, and so University of California study is that about 25 species of spider of all those 50,000 in the world are dangerous to people, which is an incredibly, incredibly small percentage. The only one that we really have in Canada is the black widow, which is only in certain parts of Canada. I've never seen a black widow. I've never been other than at the Toronto Zoo, where you can see them in captivity, which is very cool. So I love that query. And then I like this question, and we can maybe wrap up with this as our spider before you meet our second ambassador. But can you tell us the difference between venom and poison?
Definitely. Oh, I love this question. So yeah, venom and poison can sometimes get used interchangeably, and they are different things. An animal could be kind of both, or poison and toxic or toxins can be traded around sometimes too, even though again, they are sort of different things. But venom is essentially, you have to ingest it. I'm mixing myself up here. Venom has to be injected into you. So like a bite, something has to bite you to inject venom. And then poison you have to ingest or eat in some way. So there's a difference in it. And typically, like thinking like a frog, the frog itself is poisonous versus a snake or a spider is going to bite you with their venom. So it's about the delivery method. And then also within each of those two things, there is a variety of ways that it can affect people or other species. In terms of like psychedelic responses or, blood thickener, nerve reactants. There's quite a range, which within each of them, we could probably do a whole program on its own between the difference between venom and poison and what they do to the human body or other species as well.
Very, very cool. While she's walking there, we're going to harp on one more other thing. Again, if you count the big things on the spider, there's more than 8, which is kind of interesting. Can you speak a little bit to those mouth parts and maybe a little bit more about them and why there might be more than 8 things total?
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, you can definitely, when you kind of count her through here, and I might toss this one over to Greg as well, just because he does a lot more of the care of Lulu here in the office, and he's kind of more aware of her different body segments and breakups here for it. But talking about Greg, I have headphones in, everyone, so sorry. I'm relaying the question to Greg here as well. But they're asking about her legs and the addition of the ones kind of at the front there for us.
Well, it's just each one has different function. Excuse me, it allows her to travel around, grab onto stuff, and then she can sort of feel. What you'll find is if she were to eat that cricket, those two front legs, she would grab the cricket, and pull it up into her fangs, and then inject the cricket with her venom to kill the cricket. And then using those front two legs, she would manipulate the cricket into her mouth. And then the other legs, they're all used for locomotion, but those front ones, you'll often see her feeling and touching things as she moves around.
Thanks so much, Greg. And I want to note, for people keen to look into this, a lot of the group with spiders have these things. So their technical term is pedipalps, and then the ones right in the middle are the chelicerae. So the things to rip things apart are those middle bits. But ultimately, it's sort of like 6 pairs of appendages, and 4 pairs of those are legs, and the other 2 are for eating. So thanks, Greg, for that, and Mary Ellen for sharing the question along. What a beautiful, beautiful spider, and I'm so glad we're getting this epic visual of all this. This is so cool.
She is gorgeous, and we're trying to scoot the cricket over to her there, but I think Lulu is clearly telling us that maybe today, or right now at least, is not the time for her to be snacking here. We'll give her one more chance. It's kind of close to her. If she doesn't go for it now, that's her telling us she's not in it right now. So I think we'll call it there for Lulu. Of course, as well, though, this doesn't mean you have to stop asking Lulu questions when we get outside to our next animal friend for the last little bit of our program. You're welcome to still ask questions about her if anything else pops up. But we'll head outside. I'm going to toss it to Jesse here for a second, because for me to get outside right now, I actually have to walk through a good portion of our office. And although I love being on camera with these programs, and Lulu loves it, not everyone else is a fan of it. So I'm going to go camera off for a moment, and I'll see you outside in just a minute.
See you outside in just a minute, and please do keep sharing all those spider questions. We'd love to hear from you over the rest of the broadcast. We've got about 10 more minutes together. Those who are at the zoo, who have been at the zoo before, you'll know where Mary Ellen is going and where she might be heading next for our next animal ambassador. So they're very, very fun. I will note, I just put in the YouTube and Facebook chat for everyone an amazing video on spiders. So BBC Earth is sort of the gold standard of great natural history broadcasting. I certainly grew up with a lot of David Attenborough teaching me about invertebrates like spiders. So I encourage you to check that out if you're extra excited about some very cool spider adaptations. I would encourage you to the torontozoo.com or torontozoo.com to keep learning, going about some of their stuff, their Guardians of Wild program, and more. And as I said, we've done over 35 programs in conjunction with Mary Ellen. Our YouTube channel at Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants has all of those. So lots to explore there. And with that, I'll stop talking, because it looks like we've met our next animal ambassadors. You can ask questions about them or spiders for the rest of our program. Mary Ellen, who's this?
There we go. We've made it. The magic of movie there, kind of getting from one place to another. We are at the Toronto Zoo Goat World. So where I work in the zoo, I'm very lucky. Right out our door from our building is the Goat World, where we get to see some of our other ambassador species. And they can come on up. So we have quite a few goats here at the zoo, and some of them want some pets here for us as well. I will say, though, in case you come to the zoo expecting to be able to do this, I am standing in a staff only area right now. So I do have a little bit more access to the goats than the average person kind of coming through to the zoo would. We do have to keep some separation of them to make sure they're not getting fed and they are being cared for correctly. So if you come to the zoo expecting to be able to pet them like this, unfortunately, it's unable to do from the public side of it all the time. But we've got a few different types and species of goats in here. Right here, this is Romeo. As you can tell, he's very affectionate. And he also chased away Bunny when he came on over. So he's, I wouldn't call him maybe the most dominant, but he knows what he wants, and he's not afraid to push for some pets and be the person to get them. So he'll probably be the star of our show for the rest of this.
He is pretty adorable. We've got people that knew instantly who those were, our animal ambassadors at the zoo. So is it just the 2? Are there many other goats? What's the deal?
We got several in here, so let's see if I can name them. So this is Niles here right in front of us, the biggest of them. Oh, Romeo's got my cord of my headphones there. Hey, buddy. Very interested, like I said, in being pet. He chased away Bunny, who is now a little sulky over there in the corner. We also have Molly Bean over here to my right. So she's hanging out, getting some hay off the ground. Niles is coming over to say hi. And then we should also have at least one more in here. If she comes about, I'll introduce her as well. But there should be at least one more friend poking about in here. So these are our outreach and discovery goats. If you come to the zoo on a nice day, you might actually see Bunny, who's over there right now. He's a 3-legged goat who hops around. I always like to say he was named Bunny before the 3 legs happened. It's because he's born on Easter, not because he hops around now with the 3 legs. But he goes out on walks on the zoo site. So he does wear a little halter, and the keepers can take him about. And if you're able to see them, sometimes if he's in a good mood and they're okay for time, you are able to pet and interact with Bunny out on site with his keepers, which is pretty fun.
Very, very cool. We had a question about that as well. I like the image of someone coming in at the 36-minute mark of the broadcast, and it says Toronto Zoo Spiders, and there's just a giant goat face on the screen. So thank you for that in my day. Let's see. We've got again, for wild encounters at the zoo, this is just interacting. This isn't riding a goat or anything else for any kids or anything. We want to make sure for people that are keen on options at the zoo.
Yes, definitely. You can book wild encounters with these friends here, but you do have to be very safe. You're escorted with a keeper who is aware of their kind of body language, because anything with a mouth can bite. So it is important to be able to be safe with the animals, know their body language. Like I said, I'm just standing in an area that the public, and it's not accessible to public. We use this space for our camps in the program. So if you come to summer camp here with us at the Toronto Zoo Camp, you may be able to get some hands-on experience with the goats.
So the ultimate question about goats: why pellets? Tell us about their poop.
I feel like this is something that is not a unique thing to them per se. But yeah, the pellets of their poop, it has to do with their digestion, really. So, species, they are eating a lot of hay, a lot of vegetation. They've got a really good digestive system to be able to kind of suck water and nutrients out of it. And then it, creates the pellet droppings. There's other species that are really unique for it as well. I believe it's capybaras have a square-shaped poop as well. That's one that usually gets people pretty excited about them and interested in capybaras a little bit more. But yeah, it's all to do with their digestion and kind of how they eat and what they eat as they're going. And they're, as you can tell, eating a lot of hay. They also get vegetation, but right now they have quite a bit of hay on the ground that they've spilled out. This is an enrichment item. So this morning it would have been full of hay, and they have done their very best kind of ripping everything they wanted to eat out of it. And now all of the kind of boring stuff, maybe like the veggies left on your plate, that's all that's left for them. And they're kind of picking away at it more slowly or subtly.
Sweet. Thank you so much for that. The unexpected question in the spider broadcast. Now, do you have any other animal ambassadors at the zoo? We've got Lulu. We've got our goat friends here. Is there anything else that we can look for if we come in person?
Definitely. So some of them are in what we call behind the scenes areas only, and they're not as easily seen, but they come out on site. So oftentimes as you walk around the zoo, you might see keepers standing with a bird on their arm or maybe a snake. They tend to be a lot of native species here to Canada or North America in general, and they are species that we can bring about. You can sometimes pet them depending on what animal it is. Obviously the birds less so, but the snakes, usually the keepers allow you to pet, and you can learn a little bit more up close and hands-on with these species about why they're here, what's going on. Not all of them, but quite a few of our animal ambassador species are ones that have come to us in maybe more of a tragic way. So sometimes they come from other zoos, but sometimes they've come from a rehab facility. Like they were a wild species or a wild individual at one time, but due to an accident or an injury, they can no longer be released back into the wild anymore. And so they're now here acting as an ambassador for their species, which is really important. It's been studied and kind of talked about and looked at about caring for the animals and the species that share the earth with us here and why it's so important. And, it's found that if you are more up close with something, you get that hands-on experience or that kind of wow moment with them, you are more likely and more often going to care and make choices in your everyday life to help that species and want to protect and save them in the future, or whatever is going on with them in that current predicament in life. So caring about animals, getting up close to them is really a fantastic way for us to make these connection with these species, and be able to want to do more to help them in the world, and, you know, make them less scary and more personal to us, which is really important in the case of our spiders today. I hope everyone who answered this morning, this morning when we first started the broadcast, if you were scared of spiders, I hope that maybe you're a little bit less apprehensive about them, and even, you know, curious now, and you might go home and do some research on them. You may not have a spider for a pet or go seeking them out, but March 14th every year is National Save a Spider Day. So maybe March 14th, 2026, a few more of us will go out of our way to, save spiders and let them coexist with us instead of being fearful of them.
I have a friend who we did a spider broadcast recently. At the end of the broadcast, she said that from now on, she's not going to kill spiders. She's going to put them in one corner of her home like a spider topia with a bunch of plants. So make your own spider center of the house, and also find someone who loves you as much as Romeo loves scratches, because this is fantastic. Mary Ellen, time flies and you're having fun. We are nearing the end of the broadcast. That was a really nice last message for us. But is there any place that people can go to learn more about the zoo, or come in person? Anything big happening there in the next little bit?
Definitely. Here, I'll flip the camera back on myself here for the last few minutes of our broadcast. It's so beautiful today. Oh my goodness. I love that we got to be outside for today's broadcast, at least at the end here. There's lots of ways. So Jesse and I, as he mentioned in the beginning, we have done like 30, 40 videos together where you can learn so much about the Toronto Zoo, all the different things that we're doing, all the ways that you can help. And just by participating in programs like this, learning more about these creatures and the animals that we see around us, you can make a difference in the world, spread this knowledge to those around you, work together. It can be intimidating and scary on your own to think of all, the things that are maybe happening in the world and how the environment needs us, but together we can make that difference. So working together, learning together, and changing our ways. You can check out our website, our socials, all at Toronto Zoo across all social medias. If you're able to come in person and support us, and then also look at your local community. I'm speaking just for the Toronto, kind of Ontario, Canada, GTA area, but maybe you're from somewhere else in the world, or you have family from somewhere else in the world, and everyone's habitats need help in their own way. And what might work for us in Toronto, or for me here in Canada, may not work for you. So I encourage everyone to do the research for your own areas, find groups, clubs, organizations. There's lots of passionate people out there, and the more of us who get together, the better off we are, for sure.
No better message than that. Thank you so much, Mary Ellen. We'll see you again in May, most certainly. But I want to say a big thank you to all our audience, YouTube, Facebook alike, Romeo, Lulu, all our animal ambassadors. And I hope you have a wonderful time outside. You have our permission as an audience to go run through the woods when you're done this broadcast and enjoy the sunshine. But farewell for now, folks. Have a wonderful day, and we'll see you all soon.